Hello everyone, and welcome to Blindsight, War of the Wardens, a free indie 3D beat-em-up which you will be playing through in its entirety. Let's get the story.
5 relics, protected by 5 families, each led by a head warden. After my mom, it was supposed to be me. Then I was born blind. My dad still believed in me. He trained me, but then he went missing while meeting the Mars Wardens. And Ada Mars was found dead. For centuries, the Wardens lived in harmony. Until now. Get the relic!
We need to go! Ah!
Alright, so it sounds like things have gone pear-shaped. Maybe our dad murdered someone, maybe he didn't. But either way, we are blind, and we know how to fight. So we will be doing that. The X button we use to do basic attacks. The combat may look very reminiscent of Arkham. I assume that's quite deliberate. Unlike Arkham, though, even though I've played through this game multiple times, I can't quite tell whether we actually have omnidirectional attacks. In Arkham, the free-flow combat enabled you to simply push the control stick in a direction, press attack, and then, well, you'd zap to that guy, start wailing on him.
Mom, are you okay?
I'm fine.
What happened? What's the Mars family doing?
They used their relic.
They betrayed us. Did they say anything about Dad?
No. They just demanded the relic and attacked when I wouldn't let them take it.
They wouldn't use it to bring Ada back, would they? I'm going after them.
No, don't. It's too dangerous.
I can do this. Trust me. I'll get the relic back and find out what happened to Dad. I promise.
Take this. It will protect you. Be safe, son.
So as I was saying, I can't quite tell if this game has the same sort of free-form, omnidirectional combat system, simply because it doesn't seem to matter which direction I push the control stick in. Iggy just attacks where he feels like. And, you know, if that's intentional, that's fine, but I'm not sure whether it is, because the design seems to be built around the idea that you could choose who you're attacking. It's not like it's entirely impossible to choose who you're attacking or anything, it just doesn't work the way that you'd expect this combat system to.
Too slow. I have to be faster.
So, as the game has told us multiple times now, we can use key, left bumper, heals us. We can also use right bumper to stun and blind enemies, which we will be doing quite a bit. We have a basic counter. You press triangle or the Y button to counter.
Blind! Anyone got him?
And you counter whenever an exclamation point appears above an enemy's head. Very simple stuff. If you've played Arkham before, you get how it works. Again, the omnidirectional combat aside. It's a very button-mashy sort of experience. The finishers, I believe, even use the same button that Spider-Man 2018 uses for finishers, which is a very Arkham-inspired video game. But yeah, the combat functions and everything, it just feels a bit awkward to aim your attacks for the reasons I described previously. Sometimes it all flows really, really well. Sometimes.
Can't have made it too far. Only way to Singapore is through the temple.
It says to use
Before they get through.
right bumper to reveal surroundings. I'm not quite sure what it means by that. It just makes the dark areas a bit wider. I'm not sure if it has some other feature I'm unaware of. So, now we're seeing that enemies can also use red attacks. And as you're seeing, while we try to dodge them, sometimes we get stuck to their character models, the enemy's character models, which, that's not great. If you're going to incorporate a dodge feature, then you don't want your character getting stuck on geometry or character models while dodging.
The temple's next to the waterfall.
Like, the function of a dodge, after all, is to get you out of range of enemy attacks. So even though when you press dodge, usually
Easier than expected.
the red attacks won't actually hit you. You still want Iggy to move, because people use dodge under the assumption that it will move their character. I'm not trying to be mean or sarcastic or anything about this. Like, I'm just providing genuine criticism the best I'm able. It's quite obvious that this game was made with a great deal of passion by the composition and art style. And there's nothing wrong with taking inspiration from other beat-em-ups. And I do, of course, realize the game is free. But I do think that fundamentally there are some things that need worked out about this game. Am I meant to be able to choose where I attack? If so, it doesn't work properly. Is a dodge meant to move me away from the enemies consistently? If so, it doesn't work properly. And the way enemies magnetize to each other and yourself also feels quite a bit awkward. Like, oh, cutscene.
Long enough, but I'm afraid this is as far as you'll go.
You seem confident. Don't underestimate me.
Wouldn't dream of it.
So for the boss battles, we want to immediately blind everyone. And start, if we can, start wailing on the boss herself. Because the regular enemies will just keep on spawning. And while we can get a pretty high combo if we just keep attacking the enemies that respawn, we want to take her out. She's the main threat. And that was pretty easy. She didn't really get a chance to fight back. Is there an animation glitch? Okay, no, I think it's just in slow-mo. I was hearing sound effects, so I thought maybe there definitely was an animation glitch, I think, or a sound glitch. Something weird was happening.
You attacked us.
Your dad killed my mom.
That's ridiculous.
We're bringing her back.
You can't use the relic. It's our responsibility to keep them safe.
What do you care? Your mom wouldn't even let you be a warden. Besides, we already used the relic of space. Using one more won't matter.
Forget it. You won't listen to reason. I'm gonna stop your brother. Here we go.
So the way the story is told, very reminiscent.
Guess this must be the front of the house. Temple.
So the way this story is told, very reminiscent of Saturday morning action cartoons.
Lila had to be lying about Dad.
Time to rough this guy up.
The voice acting, the presentation. Everything about it just screams Saturday morning action cartoon. Like the guy voicing Iggy sounds straight up like Spider-Man. Or at least one of the cartoon Spider-Man. And as you're about to see, the game is fairly short. About 22 minutes your first time through. Which probably coincidentally is how long these Saturday morning cartoon episodes tended to run. Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
I can do this.
They're only the 2 levels, so something else I do want to point out about this game is that Iggy is blind, and as you might have guessed, and he sees the world through hearing. But we don't actually hear the things. You can see it represented here with this stereo system. The way sound radiates out from it, so we can see the ground around it. That's a really cool effect. Like, I don't want to downplay how cool this detail is. This is a really cool detail. But for some reason, we can't actually hear the stereo. Instead, we can only hear the soundtrack. And I feel like the game would be a lot more impactful if instead of the soundtrack, we could actually hear the environment. Because that would do so much more justice to the concept of Iggy seeing with his ears. You know what I mean? I just feel like it's a hugely missed opportunity.
So this is the marketplace Mom kept telling me about. How do people live with all this noise?
Iggy complains about it being noisy out here, but we don't even hear the noise. It just feels like there's a huge disconnect between what the character is experiencing and what we're experiencing, and that's to the game's detriment, I feel like.
Train more.
As one-liners go, I'm not sure yelling "train more" is one of the best.
I bet it's about Ada Mars. You know, she died in a freak shooting last month.
International drama.
Then what's with the glowing flower?
I can't believe these people are so casually bantering. about whether our dad did or did not kill Ada Mars while we're pummeling them in and they're also blind. It just seems like now wouldn't be the time for that. Yeah, I don't know. It's not like the game feels unnatural to play or anything. It's just for the reasons I described previously. It's not as fluid as it could be.
Next!
Let me heal myself real quick.
That was a decent warm-up. This must be what happens when the Relic of Space is used. I have to stop Raynor from using ours.
So the relics guarded by the 5 Wardens. I'm very interested in learning more about how those relics came into being, what exactly they're supposed to be for. And it seems like the game is definitely banking on that idea. That you'll definitely want to know more about these things. Not that the game itself describes any of it in detail to you. But it seems to be betting on your interest. And I'm not sure if the way they generate that interest is entirely dynamic or natural. Like, the reason I want to know more about these relics isn't necessarily because they're super interesting on the surface, but instead because there's so little context for what...
Relic of Space caused all of this. Who knows what the Relic of Life will do?
There's so little context for what I'm doing that I'm desperate for, like, any sort of additional context. Like, we understand the basics of our motivations, of course. And there's nothing wrong with having a hero who doesn't at first understand what's going on, but the hero does understand what the relics are for, presumably, and why they were made.
Stronger thugs.
And why they were made. But we don't know that.
The portal must be nearby.
There you are.
Sometimes you can evade red attacks. Instead of dodging, you just hit an enemy further away from you. And obviously the attack won't hit you then. So you don't always need to dodge.
There it is.
But that's a bit iffy.
Not too late.
The blind warden comes to prove himself.
Return the Relic of Life, Raynor. You'll disrupt the natural order of the world.
I don't care. Your father killed my mother. I want her back.
It's time to take on Raynor. He's actually... Oh, all of our amulet powers have left. All of our ki is drained, so we need to get it back. Good thing there are just a ton of goons sitting around. So something I find a bit odd about this game is the implication that the Mars family hired goons. Now, we don't know much about the culture of the Wardens and their families, right? But doesn't it seem a bit odd to you that these Wardens, with their sacred duty to guard these relics which alter reality, would just hire some random goons to beat up the other Warden's son? Doesn't that seem a bit off? I don't know. I think it's a bit awkward. Like, I know that it's a beat 'em up, and you gotta have enemies, but it just feels out of place. Like, at first when I played this game, I assumed these guys were instead meant to be training with the Mars family, and that they weren't just random goons. But the dialogue seems to definitely imply that they're just goons. Oh, do the goons not respawn on this one? They respawn when you fight, I forgot her name. They respawn when you fight Raynor's sister. I lost, but the fight's actually easier after you lose because I believe they come at you in a different formation. Yeah, Raynor just takes the charge, and if you die. At least I assume Iggy died. I assume they're trying to kill Iggy. And I assume Iggy's killing the goons because when Iggy hits them, he kicks them in the neck, and then you hear a snap sound. And that snap sounds very final.
No.
It's quite a loud snap.
All this way. I won't let you stop me now.
Fair enough, Rainer. Let's see what you got on round 2. Round 2 doesn't seem a whole lot different from round 1, Rainer. It doesn't seem like you brought any additional skills to the table. It sort of seems like you're attacking me the same way as you always have. I don't mean to insult you. I don't mean to embarrass you in front of your goons. You even run like them, though, buddy. Like I don't feel like you personally, Rainer, are bringing anything unique to this equation. That's a lot of guys. Let's see if I can't get in there and actually attack the boss proper. There we go. It's kind of a gamble whether... Oh, we got him.
Special Agent Boss, right? Are you the one that killed my friend?
Dad?
What happened to Ada Mars was an unfortunate accident. It was murder! We'll continue this tomorrow. Please take Mr. Yin back to his cell.
What was that?
That was my dad. And that was proof. He didn't kill your mom. They were attacked.
Dad, when did you get that recording? You knew Ray was innocent, and you sent us after the Yin family anyways.
It doesn't matter. Don't you want your mother back? Stand up and fight!
No, Dad! I'm sorry. I just wanted my mom back.
I get it. I'm sorry too. It wasn't easy, but it was over. We got the Relic of Life back.
Thank God you're okay.
Told you I could do it. How's your leg?
Hey, it will heal. It will heal. Your father, is he?
He's alive. Some group called the Jurisdiction of Interdimensional Matters took him and killed Ada Mars. We need to find him.
We will. Together. I'm proud of you, Iggy.
Thanks, Mom.
So, that was Blindsight. It makes a lot of promises, like a whole lot of promises. It wants you to be invested in what the relics are about, what the Wardens are about, what's the Bureau of Interdimensional Affairs. The theme song, straight up a Saturday morning cartoon theme song. It has the melody. You're seeing a Saturday morning cartoon intro right here, it feels like. And, you know, I see the passion. It feels like the people who made this were deeply, deeply passionate about the sort of story they wanted to tell, how they wanted to tell it, and the Blindsight mechanic. I just feel like it didn't pan out quite as well as it could have. Like I mentioned, it's hard to tell whether I'm even meant to be able to select which enemies I want to hit. The enemies sort of slide around. When you dodge, you get stuck to geometry or enemies. And even ignoring all that, the combat system is very superficial. Like, I've played Arkham and a lot of Arkham-adjacent games, and the combat system universally in every single one of those has had more going on than this game does. It's charming. Like, I love the voice acting. I love the vibe because I love Saturday morning action cartoons. But all these promises, I would need to see more, you know? I would need to see more to make any statement, because it feels like remarking on the quality of this product wouldn't mean much by itself. It wouldn't mean much alone. Anyway, after these credits, we're going to do a second run where I try to do a pacifist playthrough. You can run past most of the enemies except for the bosses, so that's what we'll do, is we'll try to run past all the enemies besides the bosses, see if we can't avoid any casualties.
Mr. Yin, why don't you tell me about your son, Iggy?
So maybe our mother is just Iggy's mother is just particularly overprotective or some such. But it doesn't seem to me that she should be trying to prevent Iggy from obtaining wardenship. Iggy is incredibly capable, as we've seen. And it seems like he's been training for it regardless, probably because his father, Ray, was training him for it. But then they make it sound like his mother won't let him be a warden in spite of his training. It's a bit odd, right? Like, I'm not sure what the relationship there is. And it doesn't even seem like Iggy's mother is particularly overprotective. Like, yeah, she didn't want him to go on this dangerous quest, but I feel like anyone would have tried to prevent him from that. Here we go.
Took you long enough?
No, it actually didn't take us long enough. We came here very quickly. Oh, Mila, that was her name. Or Mila, one of those two. Excuse me, buddy, I'm trying to attack the boss character. I understand that you were hired to hit me, but I don't want to hit you. That's not what I'm here for today. I always get a little nervous because, again, you don't always attack the character you want to. So trying to do a run like this where you don't hit the goons is pretty difficult.
Screw you.
You attacked us.
Alright, that's level 1. So, I would definitely say this is a criticism against the game. I really don't like beat-em-ups where you can just run past the enemies, and in this game, it's so unbelievably easy to run past the enemies.
How do people live with all this?
They don't put up any sort of resistance. You just scoot right past them. And it's a problem that every beat-em-up has to solve differently, you know?
This must be what happened.
But
Space is used.
they should have tried to solve this problem. These guys are supposed to be threatening, right? I'm supposed to feel threatened by them, and I'm just not.
Who knows what the Relic of Life will do?
My cabbages!
It's getting worse. The portal must be nearby.
But yeah, the whole game feels like a pilot to a cartoon. A pilot or episode 1 to a cartoon.
The blind ward.
And if that's the vibe it's going for, you know, good job on that front. Because it's done quite exceptionally at that. No, don't attack the goons. You just want to hit Raynor. As I've said previously, it's much easier to tackle Raynor if you die first because they come at you in a different formation where they're less grouped together.
He's blind, isn't he?
I just realized you could hear Raynor's dad up there. He's up there by the portal, shouting down at Raynor. Not shouting nice things. I assume our dad was far more supportive than Raynor's father. It sounded like he was. Maybe a dynamic that would be further explored if there were other media related to Blindsight, the Wardens, the War of the Wardens, one of those two things. Like, there's a suggestion of character here. And like all artistic work, it's pretty universally the case that more effort goes into the characterization than you're likely to see on your own experience with a piece of art.
No! I've come all this way! I won't let you stop me now!
Like, I'm willing to bet that what we're seeing is definitely not all they had planned. Oh, hello. I didn't even see that guy. Please stop attacking the goons. But regardless of whether it is all they had planned, and as much as I could theorize about the intentions of these character arcs, we can only go on what we know. And what we know isn't a whole lot. Like, there's just not a lot here. That's so many guys. I know I said that last time, but it's still so many. Oh, good. We can heal ourselves again. This sort of hit and run tactic to avoid killing any of the goons. This sort of thing is what I'm here for. I really love doing pacifist challenge runs of action games because it brings to light so many biases in the way humans function. Most of our video games are violent or explicitly based around violence of some kind. And the assumption is that because you're so used to video games being violent, you won't even attempt to play them in a non-violent fashion. And sometimes when you do try to play them in a non-violent fashion like this, you learn a lot about the game design. There's a lot of lore happening up there by that platform. Raynor's dad is doing a lot of talking with the Bureau of Interdimensional Matters, it sounds like. But we can barely hear it. I can barely hear it, which means you probably can't hear it at all. I will hand it to the dodge mechanic. Oh no. I was about to say the dodge mechanic's really coming in clutch, but maybe not there so much. Got him. There we go. Pacifist Run of Blindsight. As close to pacifist as we could make it.
It wasn't easy, but it was over. We got the...
Anyway, yeah, that's a Blindsight. War of the Wardens. We've covered about everything I could think to cover. Like I said, a lot of promises, but there's just not a lot here to get attached to right now. Again, I can see the passion, but that it is what it is.